Western Michigan, 7-0. They're 20th in the country right now. A really good story when you consider their history before their head coach got there. And their head coach is P.J. Fleck, and he's with us here on Tiki and Tierney. Coach, how you feeling today, buddy?
I'm doing elite, guys. Thanks for having our program on the show.
No doubt about it. Funny, I think there's some fans out there, and I lived in Michigan, so I know this a little bit better than maybe some. But you hear Western Michigan, Central Michigan. I think people sometimes get confused as to exactly which program is yours. What I'm not confused about is that you flipped this thing around relatively fast. How have you gotten to this point where you're 7-0 and so clearly going in the right direction? What did you do?
Well, first and foremost, it's about the right people, right? And we have incredible people, from our staff to our players to our administration to our community. And it's a lot of fun to be able to do something like that when people really want it to happen and they believe it can happen.
Yeah.
But the first thing we did, we focus on the process. We are not a result-driven program, which is crazy in 2016. You got Les Miles getting fired for winning a national championship, SEC titles. You got Mark Richt lose his job for winning 10 games. If you focus on the result, which is only data and information, and that's all you focus on, you're probably never going to get that. So we focus truly on the process. And year one was about building culture, not even building, but digging culture. We couldn't even build a foundation until we dug as far down as we could. We started the season 0-8 and ended up 1-11 and should have been 0-12, to be honest with you. But nothing could compromise the culture being built year one, period. Then year two, we taught our players how to compete and compete with each other, not against. I think there's a big difference in that, being able to teach someone how to win and how to lose and how to respond to those types of things when they haven't done it. And then year three was about expectation and nevers and firsts, and we accomplished 21 firsts in year three. And then year four has been about pressure. It's about, ever since January, being able to handle the pressure, handle the expectations, prepare our players for something like this, because we talked about this possibly happening all the way in January. And everything we've done has put a ton of pressure on our players. So, again, it takes a lot of people to turn around a program, especially one that's really won outright championship in 109 years and never won a bowl game before us, and with all due respect. But we wanted to be able to make the past Broncos very happy, obviously, and then the current Broncos as well as future Broncos.
Mission accomplished so far. P.J. Fleck, 7-0, Western Michigan Broncos here on Tiki and Tierney.
Now, Coach, I don't think a lot of people know a lot about you. And in fact, I didn't until I started digging and doing some research. I know you spent a year as a coach with my brother down in Tampa Bay. You were a wide receiver coach in Schiano's staff, so I hope he didn't give you too much trouble down there. But
he was one of my favorites. I tell you what he was so graceful and so gracious and really treated me really well. I was one of the youngest assistants in the National Football League at the time, and he was unbelievable to me.
Well, that's
just an incredible leader, and I was really happy to spend some time around him.
Well, Coach, that's why I bring it up, because you're young, and not a lot of people realize you're 35 years old, and more importantly, you're a wide receiver. And I said this to BT right before this interview. I said you don't see a lot of wide receivers, guys who got at least a cup of coffee on the National Football League level, turn into head coaches.
And tell them the name I threw out to you. Raymond Berry is the one that jumped out.
So how did this process happen for you? I mean, going back from exiting the National Football League, getting into coaching, and then becoming a head coach. I mean, it's kind of unprecedented.
Well, first of all, I have Raymond Berry's wide receiver drill tape.
Get out of here.
40 years ago.
Wow, nice.
Funny you brought that name up. I used to show my players Raymond Berry's how to catch a football from 50 years ago, and we started our meetings with that, which was amazing, because the true breakdown of actually catching a ball, people don't even talk about it anymore. So really, I've gotten to where I've gotten because of people around me. It has nothing to do with me, guys. I've surrounded myself with elite coaches. My dad kills bugs for a living, and my mom's a teacher's aide. I have an elementary education degree. I taught sixth grade social studies right out of college. And then I played in the National Football League. And once you go to the National Football League, as Tiki, it opens a lot of doors for you.
Yeah.
And I realized that I wanted football in my life. So after my third year, I got cut. Mike Nolan was my head coach. He cut me in his office, but offered me a coaching job immediately.
Wow.
So I got
That's
cut
rare.
and offered a job on the same day. And I decided to actually going to take the job, and Jim Tressel called, and I ended up going with Jim Tressel as a GA. But I've always been the king of the twos, too small, too short, too slow, too young, and TOO. That's really been me. And again, I've always had a crack on my shoulder, not a chip. I'm one of those guys that's just you're just a runt. I grew up a runt. I've always had to do things a little bit different, a little bit harder of a way, but I got to be me. And the people I've surrounded myself with, the Joe Novaks, the Jerry Kills, the Greg Schianos, the Mike Nolans, the Dennis Ericksons of the world, Mike McCarthy's, they shaped my life into who I am today. And again, I'm constantly growing, constantly changing, but those people set the avenue and gave me opportunities and saw something in me, or I wouldn't be where I am today.
That's good stuff. So, Coach, I would imagine the lineage of who you learned from, you're probably more aware of paying it back to younger coaches now because of the path that you took, right?
Well, absolutely. Here's the one thing I've learned as a young coach, and even in our football profession. Coaches don't like to share a lot. Football coaches don't like to share a lot. So what I've done is I travel in the off season and I go visit other sports. Becky Burley, the national championship women's soccer coach at Florida, I've spent tons of time with. Buzz Williams, the head basketball coach at Virginia Tech,
I love Buzz.
Time with.
Love him.
And because in football, everybody feels like they all have these secrets, and I get it, but they all run really the same place. And it comes down to, can you do what you do better than what we can do well? And that's what it comes down to. And you have to have the right players. You have to have the right talent. You have to provide them with the blanket of culture. And everybody, that's why row the boat's so important for us, because everybody has to be rowing the boat.
Yeah.
They have to be to get the most out of your players. And it's been a little bit different. Like I said, we don't try to be different. We're just a little bit different, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather be different and be real than be quote-unquote perfect and not be myself.
Ah, nice. That's a good quote right there. PJ Fleck with us here, Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio. So I'm reading this morning, doing a little research for the spot. Go to cbssports.com, and I see an article, and you're in it, among 6 other names, some high-profile ones for the opening at Purdue. And, part of the tough aspect of getting a successful coach on from a mid-major is having to ask this question. And Tiki knows, I've been with Tiki for 4 years. I love asking tough questions. I live for it. I have no problem doing it. But these situations are always a little delicate for me because of what you're trying to do now, but also balancing the future. So I got to ask, I know that you're in the article. I know that Purdue is looking for a new head coach. What's the future? How do you do what you're doing now and still try to handle your business and put food on the table later?
Well, you got to be real. You got to be real. And the one thing I know is I've been 0-8 as a head football coach my first year. And even though you're 7-0, you feel like, okay, we got 5 games left. We can easily be 7-5. That's the way my life has always been. I've always been the underdog. I've always been a runt. And I've always seen things from, okay, we're going to continue to change our best, focus on what we can control, not focus on what we can't control, and focus the internal parts of ourselves and our program. And I'll continue to do that. Any exposure that has to do with Western Michigan is phenomenal for our university, it's for our community, it's for everything that has to do with the Bronco, period. It's incredible for our brand. And we went through the same stuff last year. So I think our players understand that. They know that. They know that's coming. But my focus is on our players. It's on what we're doing right now. We don't have time to read. I don't even know what article you're talking about. So we don't even have time to read articles, to go over things. We are so engulfed in this bubble that a lot of things that happen on the outside world we don't necessarily know about, but it's there, but our players know. And one thing that they get from me every single day is 100% attention to Western Michigan football and them. And I don't think I ever show them anything different.
Yeah.
And I think if they saw something different, maybe they could question me. But they get everything I've got, and my staff gets everything I got. Our community gets everything I got. Our children's hospital gets everything I've got, so on and so forth. And that's all I can control, guys, and that's all I can worry about. Speculation and rumors have been part of my life since I was born, and that's why there's rumors and speculation. And but I'm just so blessed.
PJ, hold on. I hope you'll laugh at this. When you say that this speculation has been part of your life, they didn't speculate that you were a girl when you were first born, did they?
No, I will say this, though. My mom wanted me to be a girl.
Oh, no.
I had long, blonde, flowing hair till I was about 6 years old, which was completely embarrassing.
Gotcha.
Hey, they used to
Good
do
answer,
that,
by the way.
They used to do that to the old presidents, right? They'd press them in dresses back in the 1800s.
Yeah,
PJ, last question before we let you go here. First time you guys are ranked, really ever, 24th in the polls. You have Eastern Michigan coming up this weekend. You're obviously the press is starting to come. Attention is starting to come. I know you don't have to focus. I can just hear from the first answer. You're doing elite today. How you're going to focus? How do you get your players to stay focused on the task at hand?
We have a saying: change your best. Period. And we have to be able to be better today than we were yesterday. That's the only focus. And it's up to us as educators and teachers to show them exactly how they can grow today and not let outside influences affect them, because we know so much more than everybody else within our culture. We know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, we know what we have to work on. Nobody else necessarily knows that. They can speculate that, but we know what we have to be able to do. We enjoy each other. We enjoy our time together. Our players love coming to practice. They love coming to our facility, and we love having them, and we hate to see them go at night. And I think that's what we really enjoyed, is our time together, and we're going to cherish that every second, just like we did last year and the year before. We cherish our time together because I want these players to create memories and moments. You know, we created 21 nevers that have never happened in this program last year. This year, we're already off to 17 more nevers that have never happened in Western Michigan's history. There's so much that we can accomplish, and we're off to a special start, but we've taken the approach of a one-game season every single week, and that's what we'll continue to focus on. We are 0-0, and we have a championship game every single week. Not one game's bigger than the other. Every single game, they've earned the right to have pressure. Some people never have a chance to do that. We've earned the right to have pressure, and every game matters.
I like it. And by the way, I've actually caught a few of your games, in spurts. I know CBS Sports Network has had a few, and the stadium is pretty. Have you ever seen it on TV?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Sizzles. It jumps off.
I will check it out now, though.
I know the crowd's pretty good, so obviously they're quite enthused, as they should be. You're ranked. You're 7-0, and they got a head coach who's in charge and who seems to be headed for great things. PJ, good chat, buddy. Thank you, Coach. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate your time, guys. Thanks for having our culture on the show. Keep rolling the boat.